Yes, everyone, how are we doing? And welcome to a new video on the Biased Man City Fan YouTube channel, where I'll be discussing what is the end of the Rodrygo and the Savinho transfer saga. It is officially over. We've had the statement from Fabrizio Romano. The deal for Savinho is off, which now means the deal for Rodrygo is off. Now, look, my plan for the structure of this video is I'm going to speak on Savinho first and whether I think it's the right thing or not, and then I'll get to speaking on Rodrygo after, because, of course, I mean, Savinho is City's player, and he is now for the future anyway. You know, he's staying that way. Look, we'll start off with the actual statement that we've had from Fabrizio Romano, okay? So, Manchester City today have informed Tottenham that they are not changing their position on Savinho. City have no intention to let him go, not even for a fee over 70 million euros, okay? Seen as a key player for the season and for the future, this then, of course, also blocks the move for Rodrygo. So, 70 million euros is what City are rejecting for Savinho. Now, first of all, I'll say I like Savinho. I'm a big fan of Savinho. I think he's a talented player. He's an exciting winger. I think he's obviously, of course, still young. He's got a big future. Although I will be honest, as time went on, I was more on the side of, I want this move to happen. And that's nothing against Savinho. It is just down to the quality of Rodrygo. Rodrygo would have been a dream signing for me. A dream signing. And I know I said I'll talk about him later in the video, and I will in more detail. But I just want to say this now before I start getting into the ins and outs of this transfer. I wanted this deal to happen. However, at the same time, I'm now finally glad that it's over. This transfer saga is over. We're done with it because it's been going on for far too long now. I just feel like we've been waiting for updates and updates and updates, and it's just, they've never come. You know, it's just been dilly-dallying around, which it normally is the case when it comes to doing transfer business with Tottenham Hotspur and Daniel Levy. But yeah, the deal's off. Okay, City are keeping Savinho, and Rodrygo, well, for now anyway, staying at Real Madrid. Whatever happens with him now, I don't care. My thoughts are strictly on Manchester City and Savinho. Okay, so I'm a little tiny bit gutted that this deal doesn't happen, but as I said, that's not down to the ability or the quality or anything like that of Savinho. I do like him, but Rodrygo is one of the best players in the world, and yeah, I'd have took the transfer. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Feel free to have your own opinion, but in my opinion, I'd have rather Rodrygo wearing a City shirt now than Savinho. However, look, I want to get more into the reasons of why this transfer actually hasn't happened, because there was one period of time where it looked like City were open to the sale. You know, the bid first came in from Tottenham. I think it was around £45 million. It was out of nowhere. We hadn't seen any links whatsoever for Savinho as an exit for Manchester City this summer, out of nowhere. And then Tottenham, of all clubs, pipe up 40 odd million. And at the time I was thinking, nah, not for me. We've got to keep Savinho. He's a good player. You know, and we've already got rid of Grealish, and we're losing a winger as it is. And at the time I wasn't keen on the idea until he started going on about Rodrygo. And then I was like, okay, let's have it. But yeah, it was a little bit out of nowhere. And at one period of time, as I said, City were open to this move. Savinho wanted this Tottenham move. Savinho wanted the move to Tottenham Hotspur. Now, I will say, amongst everything that's gone on, you know, with Savinho, with him wanting the move, and it's the dilly-dallying for the past few weeks, and of course, he hasn't been playing for Manchester City, whether that actually has been down to all this transfer stuff or Pep's being honest and he has actually got a bit of a knock. It will be interesting to see whether he's part of the squad for Brighton now, isn't it? Now the transfer's over, let's see. It'll be interesting, but I will give a bit of respect or, you know, commend Savinho for the way he's acted, you know, because if he wanted the move, as I said, but he didn't want to burn his bridges with Manchester City. He didn't want to pull an Isaac situation. He didn't want to start causing problems at the club and anything like that. So, you know, for a player who was open to the move, wanted the move, he's acted perfectly during the situation. He's stayed quiet. He's not got himself into any bother. His agent's not come out spilling stuff. And I will say, you know, in a world of modern football where I don't like how transfers are heading with players and agents having too much control, and you know, the Isaac situation is a complete mess. I'll say with Manchester City, not just Savinho, but just City in general. You think a Grealish situation that went on, McAtee, every bit of transfer from City and City players, everyone's handled themselves perfectly this summer. So that is one thing I'm supposed to be proud of. But yeah, Savinho was open to this move, so it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, it isn't usual when a player wants a move that we keep them. Pep would never keep someone who wants to leave Manchester City. He has always stood firm on that. We've had some of the greatest players for this club. Leroy Sané, think of how good Sané was. Pep didn't want Sané to go. He wanted to move. You don't step in his way. Pep's always been like that. No matter the club, no matter the player, he has always been like that. If the player wants to leave, let him go. However, we found out a couple of weeks ago that there was a member of the Manchester City hierarchy blocking this Savinho move. And there's 4 people realistically you can narrow it down to who could be doing this, who could have control to say, look, this move doesn't happen. First of all, Pep Guardiola. But as I said, narrowed that one out. Pep's not going to say no to anyone leaving. He's just not. That's not how he is. So Pep's a no. Khaldun, I can't see it. I know he is involved in the club, but is he involved in the transfers and what goes on enough to the point where he says, I don't want Savinho, of all players, to leave this club? I can't see it. So then it narrows it down to 2. Hugo Viana and Soriano. And I don't know which it is between the 2 of them. I don't know. But I would probably, if I had to place a bet, I'd put it on Soriano. And this is just down purely just to my opinion and what I've read online. It is absolutely no facts. Can I just make this clear? Not trying to stir anything, not trying to cause anything. It's just my guess. Okay, it's purely guesswork. I just feel like the reasoning, okay, for City blocking this move is they don't want another Cole Palmer situation. Now, of course, Cole Palmer left his football club a couple of seasons ago for, at the time, everyone thought a good bit of money. I was a fan of Palmer. I know it was a little bit hit and miss with a lot of fans. Some fans weren't mad on him. Some fans thought he's a good, he's a good player. I was on the side of I thought he's a good player. Did anyone expect him to be the player he now is? Of course not. We wouldn't have let him go otherwise. But at the time, we thought for a player who's played such little football, Premier League football anyway, for someone that we've seen such little of, an academy player, so it's a pure profit, you think £50 million from Chelsea, that seemed like a brilliant deal for Manchester City there. And now you look back at it and go, okay, he's now one of the best players in the league. City, I get, financially don't want to make another problem like that, but I just feel like we've seen a lot more of Savinho than we have Cole Palmer, I feel like we've seen Savinho now a full season. He's good. Is he a world beater? I wouldn't say so. Has he got the potential to be? Of course, yeah, but we've seen snippets of Cole Palmer. We've seen little cameos on the back end of the season before, and then we've seen a Community Shield goal, which he took brilliantly, and we've seen him come off the bench and equalise us in the Super Cup. Now, 2 goals for us in 2 games, which is impressive, and both goals were decent. A Community Shield one, like I said, was brilliant, but we've seen a lot more of Savinho, so to say we could be making another Cole Palmer mistake, I think is a little bit bizarre. But as I said, the only reason I feel like it could be Soriano that's saying this is just because Viana wasn't at the club and Palmer was here. It makes me think that he'd be more inclined to use that as a reason than Viana would. But as I said, it's completely guesswork. I don't know. Now, if we look at that price tag of €70 million that Tottenham, by the looks of it, come at this point in the window, they were willing to pay, that is a lot of money. That is a hell of a lot of money. And for a player of Savinho's ability right now, I feel like it would be slightly overpaying, but of course, as they said with the Cole Palmer situation, with the age of Savinho, you look at it and go, you don't want to make a future mistake. But I just feel like Savinho is potential. He's a good player now, but he is a potential world-class winger. Potential. Rodrygo is a world-class winger. Rodrygo he was open to the City move. Pep Guardiola dreamt of having Rodrygo in the Manchester City squad. He made it so clear in previous times, prior interviews when City and Real Madrid have played each other. He spoke highly about Rodrygo, vice versa with Rodrygo speaking about Pep Guardiola. This is a move that would have been beautiful for Pep. He'd have loved to play like Rodrygo. Could you imagine a player with the ability of Rodrygo being coached under Pep Guardiola, getting more game time than he's at Real Madrid? Because for some reason, Xavi Alonso doesn't seem to want him. I just feel like €70 million is more than fair for Savinho, and the price that would have been paying for Rodrygo seems to be about €90 million. We're talking about a difference of 20 million. We're restricting potential world class from leaving the club when we've got current world class, right now world class, waiting to join, open to join. I just feel like it's a bit bizarre now. I think the timing of it, you can argue, might have something to do with it. If this was all going on a month before and we weren't a few days away from the window finishing, then maybe things would have been a little bit different. But yeah, I just look at things and I'm like, I'm not down about it by any means, but I just feel like Rodrygo was exciting. The idea of Rodrygo was exciting. I feel like we've got a player somewhat similar to Savinho already in Jeremy Doku, who's a tricky winger, very skillful, but the end product isn't so much there. I think Rodrygo would have given us another option. I think Rodrygo would go as far as to say he could have been a difference between us winning the league and not a player of his ability, a different kind of winger option. His lethalness, his pace, his experience already playing at the biggest club in the world, some of the biggest moments in the world, scoring big goals against us in some of the biggest stages of the world, I'm fine with Savinho. I like Savinho, as I've said. But it's the only reason why I think some City fans, myself included, could be looking at this and going, oh, a little bit down is because, as I said, the potential move that could have been coming. I think part of this you've got to say, look, is down to Daniel Levy. If it wasn't for his stupid instalment payments, how he likes to pay things, and if he weren't messing about and trying to save every single penny here and there, then he could have had a player. He could have had a top player in Savinho. And the thing is, City could have been right. If we'd have let him go and that fear of making another Cole Palmer mistake, we could have done one, but I'd have took the mistake. I'd have happily, I mean, I suppose it's all right for me to take the mistake. It's not my money, is it? It's not my job, but I feel like that mistake could have been worth taking for the player we'd have got in Rodrygo, you know? I don't know. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel now? Because I feel like the most popular opinion at the time has been bring Rodrygo, bring Rodrygo, bring Rodrygo. A lot of City fans like Savinho, but Rodrygo, as I said, he's a world-class talent. Rodrygo's one of them players for me, right? You know when people put hypothetical questions to you and say, if you don't have to be realistic, pick any player in the world, what player would you want to join your club? What player would you want to sign for Manchester City? If you could have anyone. Rodrygo's one of the names you mentioned in that list. Realistic or not realistic? It was realistic. It was there. So, look, obviously the club knows best. The people who are employed to make decisions like this know best. And you've just got to stick with their opinion and stick with their decisions, isn't it? But if it was up to me, you'd be seeing a new Brazilian winger and not the current one holding that shirt. That is all I am saying. Now, look, one of the last things I want to say in this video is, Savinho, you've got some pressure on your shoulders now, boy. I tell you that, you've got to be playing well. We have had an opportunity to have Rodrygo in the club and we are keeping you because of the potential that we, the club, everyone sees in you. So this is your time to shine. We need him to turn up big and show us why we kept him and didn't get Rodrygo. You know, he's got to show us now. He's got to prove it now. And I've got every faith that he will. As I said, it was just one of them dream signings, wasn't it? But you have them every few years, don't you? And look, who's to say that in the future, next season, whatever, if Rodrygo's still not happy at Real Madrid, we could revisit this. Maybe not for Savinho as an exit, maybe for someone else, or maybe just a new addition. We don't know. You know, football in life, it goes quick, doesn't it? But yeah, Savinho's got pressure on his shoulders now. I'm sorry. I can't be having no Savinho stinkers now. I can't be having him. I need him to work on that finishing. I need more goals, lad. I need more goals in you because one goal in 20-odd Premier League games isn't enough. Rodrygo's a goal scorer. Savinho, we need more of that magic. So yeah, look, of course, this is a little bit of a joke, that bit. You know, Savinho, the fans will of course get behind him. It's not his fault. Not any part of this is down to him. No part of this is down to his wrongdoing or anything like that. As I said at the start of this video, I've been impressed with how he's conducted himself while wanting a move to Tottenham Hotspur, wanting a move to London. I think he's handled himself pretty well. So yeah, look, we'll get behind him, of course. But the Rodrygo dream is over. It's over. It was nice. It was fun while it lasted. But yeah, it's over. And in fact, I'm going to end the video by saying this. If we play... In fact, it's not an even if. It's not an if. When we play Real Madrid this summer, if Rodrygo decides to come off the bench for Real Madrid and score a winner and knock us out of the Champions League, my head will explode. I can't be having that. I've seen him do it to us enough times. We could have learnt from our mistakes and brought him to the club this summer, but it is what it is. We're sticking with Savinho. We'll all get behind him. And yeah, as I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think we're making a mistake in doing this? Do you think we should have let Savinho go for Rodrygo? Are we making the right decision? Of course, time will tell, but feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, as I said, I said yesterday at the back of my Oldham City matchday vlog, if you've not seen that, then go and give that a watch. I had a great time filming that and it's done very well. So thank you for your support on that. But I did say at the back end of that I'll see you on Friday for your Brighton preview. Well, here you are. Here's an emergency episode for the breaking news that, you know, City are keeping Savinho, we're blocking their move, and Rodrygo is no more. So, yeah, it's an emergency episode, but I had to do what I had to do. I had to speak on this. So, now, you will definitely see me on Friday, all right? You're not seeing me before. You'll see me on Friday for the Brighton preview where, who knows, we might see Savinho back in the squad. Thank you for watching. Come on, City.